What's up, everybody? It's Ivan with Trouts Fly Fishing, back with your bi-weekly fishing report and forecast for November 1st. Clearly, the last week has been pretty cold. There's been quite a bit of snow, and it felt downright wintry, if we're being honest. But on a positive note, I mean, clearly that means good things like building up the snowpack for next summer. That's always a good thing. But also, we have some more mild fallish weather headed our way in the next week and a half before we start getting a little bit colder and moving into those sort of early winter forecasts. So with that, blue wings, midges, going to be playing a big role. And then you can also find, you're not going to necessarily find fish in all those winter haunts quite yet. They won't be all in the slow water. You'll still find them sort of in some of the fast water, looking for emergers when the blue wings are coming off, through the riffles and stuff like that. So still some very good quality fall fishing to be had over the next 2 weeks. Let's start with tailwaters. So flows on the South Platte below Cheeseman went up over this past week or so. So we're at around 80, 11 miles flowing above average. Dream stream dropped, which tends to be the case this time of year. So flows are sort of getting into that typical late fall, early winter lower flows. It is nice to see deckers flowing at 80 and not at around 50 or whatever it was prior, but a little bit of extra water can make a little bit of a difference. You don't necessarily have to throw 6X all the time. You can throw some 5 and still get away with it. So I was just up on the South Platte near Deckers filming 5 flies with Scott Dixon, fishing incredibly well considering the fact that it was like 8 degrees in the morning, and that should only improve as we see higher ambient temps into the weekend and into next week as well. So obviously small midges, blue wing olives were the game. We didn't see a ton of action up top, but when the conditions are right, when you have overcast days, we still expect to see some blue wings around, and then midges will come off, especially on those sunny late fall wintry days. So keep that in mind. Keep some dry flies on hand, the Griffith's gnats, small parachute Adams, your midge flies and stuff like that. Maybe trail those behind parachute Adams, Awani Duns, extended body BWOs, and that sort of stuff. So otherwise, it's a subsurface game. Eggs are going to start to become more prevalent as we start to see some of the brown trout spawn through that portion of the South Platte. So don't be afraid to throw an orange bead, orange egg as your lead fly, and then maybe drop off RS2. I'm blanking on all the flies I like to use, but your good, solid blue wing olive. RS2 obviously does a good job. Jujubatus, one of your Cheeseman emergers or something like that. So those things will do well, and then your midge flies. It's been a while since I've thought about small flies, so I'm I think I'm in denial. That's why I've forgotten all my favorite small flies. So that's my excuse. I'm sticking with it. Anyway, same thing goes for into Cheeseman, into 11 mile, blue wings, midges. That's going to be the game. Eggs are going to work as well, and then dream stream as the spawn starts to slow down. We're going to start to get into that late fall, early winter fishing where it's smaller stuff for the most part. So let's talk about freestones. So flows are still above average on the Colorado. Creeped up a little bit on the Arkansas, and the Eagles around about where it was a couple weeks ago. So this is one of my favorite times to throw streamers on the some of those tailwater, or not tailwaters, the freestones, because fish are going to start to pack on pounds as the water temp starts to drop. They need to eat. They need to put on weight before they're eating midges for the most part for the next little while, and nothing better than a good streamer eat in the beginning of November into the middle of November. So one thing I will say is, with your streamer retrieve presentation, when you're fishing to fish when the water's getting a little bit colder, you might not just be able to strip it back as fast. Throwing in some variations, whether you do a strip pause, you just dead drift it, you tight line it, you try to get it down deep and then crawl it, slower strips, that can always prove to be effective. So mixing it up a little bit. You don't necessarily have to just do the fast strip throughout the fall months. As the water temp starts to get low, it's good to switch it up a little bit. So otherwise, seeing blue wings, especially on the Eagle, when the sun gets low, you get a good blue wing hatch. And then on the cloudy days, the Arkansas and the Colorado are always great places to be, bank to bank risers. Although my guess is, as we start to get super cold into the middle and end of November, you're going to start to see those blue wings taper off. So as one would expect. Otherwise, throwing a tractor pattern, whether it be a small, medium Pat stone, Pat's rub legs to or maybe a tungstone or something like that to your smaller flies. So Rainbow Warrior seasons here, Big Midge seasons here, and then you can throw some small stuff as well. So it's getting to the time of year, bug choice is going to be pretty simple. It's more going to be a matter of making sure you're at the right depth. So adjusting the height or length of your tippet and leader below your indicator, so adjusting your indicator, and then also making sure you're fine-tuning your split shot, so making sure you're not just on right on the bottom, or you're not elevated, finding that sort of sweet spot. So making sure you make changes. The fly choice is going to be less of a sort of deal breaker as opposed to where your flies are riding. So making sure you manage depth, that's going to be the most important key success as the water temps start to drop. Small stuff is small stuff for the most part, in my opinion. So making sure you're presenting those flies well, that will certainly help you put some more fish in the net. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Hope everyone's doing well out there. We're getting into the holiday season. Certainly an exciting time. So thanks for tuning in. Swing by the shop. See you on the water. Have a good one.